Hi everyone, so today I want to show you how to create a Christmassy wreath. Now I really like the idea of Christmas decorations and the festive time and all of the good stuff, but I do not typically like the traditional sense of it, so I don't like red, white, green color combination. I like, to sort of mix it up and be a bit more creative, as well as when it comes to a wreath I like to have flowers included, as well as some of the wintry plants and things like that. So today I want to show you how to do it. By the way, I have found my Handmade maroon watercolor tube, so I will definitely swatch it out soon. Okay, so for that, what I recommend is I'm going to use one of my clear stamp sets, because it has perfect sized flowers sprinkled around, and I'll try to link it down below. You can get it on my ESSIE, AlyonaCreates, and then typically you can create clusters with it, but you can also use it for like now, this time of the year, why not? And because I haven't designed anything here which is Christmas related, you can also double it up with some other stamp sets that you have, which have more of the Christmas like a typical mistletoe and evergreens type of thing, maybe even a couple of those berries. I will see how I feel, but I've got some of these stamp sets here which I'm planning to mix up. Okay, so to begin with, what I find the easiest is to get different sized stamp acrylic blocks, and then you can also pick which images you want, so to narrow it down, and that way it's easier to do. All right, so I pulled out 4, and let's see. So I definitely want to use the mistletoe from this set, because these come sort of inclusive with the magazines. The packaging really could be better, but it is what it is. You could create your own little envelopes to store them in, but basically, as I was saying, oh yeah, and the other thing is what you quite often will find out, because they're cheaper and the quality, I think these are like silicone ones, so they're not great quality. They will really quickly lose their tackiness. I mean, it's almost impossible to get it off to begin with, but they do lose their tackiness. Oh goodness me, it's like sealed onto it. So that's the difference between a high quality clear stamp and a low quality, but I can't complain because they're actually quite pretty. So the next thing you need to do is grab a pair of scissors and just cut out your desired image, because obviously we don't want to stamp all of them together. Try not to damage it in the process. As they say, you get what you pay for, which in this case is very much true. So I'm gonna stick it back on. So that's one. And then mine, or generally good quality stamps these days, are made out of photopolymer. And yeah, so these are manufactured in UK, so they're really high quality and they're very different. The feeling that you get from, you can see this one comes off really easily, and it's kind of like rubbery, it sort of bounces back. It's a very different feeling when working with these guys. So then the next thing, I'm just gonna look around, and I definitely want to use some of these here. Same thing, I'll need to cut them off. So these are 3 mold together. So we've got 3 here. I'm just going to lay them on the table, and then I quite fancy these berries. I'm not sure if I'm going to really use them, but I do want to take them out. I definitely want to design some berries for the next floral set that I do. I think berries look really, really pretty when stamping. Okay, so then you'll need some sort of shape making tool. If you, whatever you have, if you can borrow something from your kids' school tools or whatever they are, or otherwise you could just take like any of the bottles, depending what size you want to do, and just use a pencil to circle around the bottom. So really, it's not a biggie. So I am going to create this sized wreath. I think that'd be about 1.5 inches roughly. So I'm going to put mine right in the middle, and I'm going to use a pencil. So let's do this. We're doing a circle, and it doesn't matter if it doesn't come like, you know, perfectly connected, because at the end of the day you're not going to see any of it. And the next thing you're going to do is look at the floral stamp set and try to figure out what is it that you like in there that you want to use. So I've got this one, I've got a couple of these ones. So these I will use later. What I want to do is to start with the biggest of the wreath. So this is the biggest flower. So these, do you see they don't bounce back? They kind of stay in a shape a little bit. They're different texture, and they have a brilliant, you could see you didn't have to, you know, tear it out of the page. And also they stay sticky for a very long time, unless you got them like quite dirty in dust or something like that. Then you can just wash them off with clear water or slightly soapy water, and they will get and dry them naturally. On kitchen paper I recommend, rather than on tissues, because they have fibers, so they will stick to it. Okay, so what I'm going to do next is do the trick that I always do, which is use some sort of clear, or not clear obviously, but like a light colored. Okay, so I got this one here, which is Tim Holtz Distressing Tattered Rose. I never thought I would use this much of this ink pad. It's just brilliant. So I'm going to put this flower in 3 different areas, and I am going to twist it as I do that. And sometimes I'm going to go straight on the line, sometimes in, sometimes out, just so that they're not exactly the same and looking a little bit more organic. So then, let's see, this one I'll turn a little bit. Like that. So something around there. What I'm going to do next is look at a smaller flower. So in this case it would be one of those. So because this is a 4-leaf, I'm going to go for a 3-leaf just to break it down a little. And I'm going to use this small block right here. And then I'm going to, at this point, I mean, if you have masks, it's okay, you can use a mask. If you don't really bother, because it's a wreath. You're going to watercolor it, you're going to decorate it, and no one is going to see any lines overlaying or anything like that. So just have your fun with it. And the third one will go probably here, like so. So far I'm happy with the 3s. Now let's go back onto the 4 petals. And we're going to build it up again, like so. It's a really pretty thing to do on like a wedding card, or just in general if you want to have a little floral illustration in your journal. So in this case I'm going to go on both sides, kind of like that, and then also rotating it here and there. So I've got 4 there, I want to do 5. Let's see, okay, so that's that. And then I can see there's a little bit of gap here. What shall I do with it? And I'll probably move on to these guys. Now these will break up this perfect kind of circle, and we're going to create some nice shapes now. So what I would say is probably should go in with the mistletoe. So mistletoe goes in, as it is the largest of them 3. Also the way the ink sits, it sort of beads up and bubbles up on it, so it's not that great for stamping. So I'm just going to do this. You can see that, so that's the quality that you get of a silicone stamp, which is a lot cheaper. So yeah, this looks quite bad. I just need to think how to work around it. I mean, I still can rescue it, it just doesn't look as neat as this does. So I'm going to create maybe one more down here, just have 2 of those, don't want 3. It might feel different with other inks, but you know, I don't have any problem with this ink with my stamp set, so I assume it's more the stamps that's the problem. Okay, so I'm going to leave it like that, and then we're going to look at building more shape with the other flowers. So let's see, let's keep it there. Okay, I'm going to move on to berries, and I assume I'll have the same issue with the berries, but it is what it is. And so the berries will go in a couple of different areas. Yeah, so it's the same problem. And I feel like I definitely want to have 3 sets of berries. So I'm going to sprinkle them around the wreath. Like that. At the moment you might find it all looking a little bit confusing, but don't you worry. We are now going to start building So I'm going to swap to a smaller one now and just pop it in here and there, just in random places, wherever I need to break up the shape a little. And you can create more shapes out of it just by stamping next to it, and you create a different shape. So that, you know, you can even, for example, build up one here, and I will do the same here as well, like that. So now it's kind of really looking lovely and large-ish. So now I'm just going to finish off with the smallest one, and that will literally just fill up wherever I have little gaps left that I feel like I want to fill up. So definitely something here like that, a couple of them just peeping out throughout the wreath, and maybe one like so, and then last one I'll put just overlaying here like that. That's it. So I'm quite happy now. It all seems to be nice and full. Maybe one more here. Okay, that's it. And now we're going to start the fun bit. Actually, here I'm missing a flower, I just noticed. So I will actually go back to that little flower, which is this one, and I'm going to stamp this flower one more time. Just like so. Doesn't matter if it really overlaps. We will now draw everything out, or line everything out rather, and I'm going to use my platinum carbon ink fountain pen to do that because it's got waterproof ink and it really is waterproof. So that is what I'm going to start doing now. And as well, at this point you can actually erase that circle line that you have here. So that's what I'm going to do first of all, because you don't want that line there anyway. You don't need it. You just used it as a little guide. And look at that. Now it looks nice and perfect and round. I mean, this is quite a big wreath we built here. You can do a lot smaller, a lot less complicated. But what I'm going to do now is just line out. I'm actually going to start with the messiest stamp right here, which was this mistletoe. Now it doesn't matter if you can't see the image perfectly, you're just going to roughly line it out, and it's just going to make it look like you spent ages drawing it by hand, where in fact you used clear stamps to help yourself, and yet still it is your creative input. Okay, so I'm just going to also create some lines like that, because that's what mistletoe leaves have. They have little lines. That again just creates a little more detail. Okay, so from this point I'm just going to carry on, and hopefully you'll enjoy the process. So what I would recommend is, because this part took so long and I'm not going to watercolor anything, I could have just straight gone with the black ink and stamped it that way, and then wouldn't need to line out anything with these evergreens, and that would have saved me a lot of time. But if you prefer the hand-drawn style, then obviously do it as I've done here. So that's the wreath done, and from this point you can either leave it like monochromatic like this, because you can see a little bit of that pink ink coming through in the berries, for example. So I would actually leave the berries without watercoloring. Obviously the evergreens, I think I prefer them in black and white as well, so I would not watercolor them. But some of the flowers I would go in and possibly add some either gold or some other colors and create whatever color theme you want. And I can do a couple of flowers right now with you. I just don't want this to be too long video, but it probably already is. So let me just find out some watercolors. Okay, I'm going to use my own set. What's this one? If you're interested, this is the Lip and Cheek palette that I have created, and it's on my ESSIE as well. There should be some stock, which I don't know how long it will take to be sold out this time. Last time it was 2 days. So just to let you know. Okay, so from this point I am going to go, I want to avoid red because, like I said, it's too typical of a color, too traditional for my liking. So this peach works actually really well with these berries, which is the Tattered Rose. So I'm going to do a couple of flowers here. So this paper in the MD cotton book, which is by Midori, it takes watercolors well, but you shouldn't use too much water. If it's only a little bit, it's going to be absolutely fine. But if there is, like here for instance, it's a bit much, so I'm just going to dab it off. And I'm going to do the same with the other two, but I'm going to mix in a little bit of either the orange or the pink just to break it up a little. So I'm going to add a little bit of that orange while it's still wet into the center here. And then the final one, you could see as I was stamping, I started with the largest, but when I was lining them out, I finished with the largest. So that I found to be the best kind of way of doing it, to not get confused with the overlaid flowers. If you just keep to a certain size rather than jumping from one flower to another, it kind of all keeps it organized in a way and easier to tackle. So that's these peach flowers, and then these I'm going to make pink. So the ink, the Tattered Rose, because it's such a light ink, even though it's overlapped in a couple of places, you shouldn't be able to see it too much. Like, it's not like it's a black ink or anything like that. So at the minute I'm doing the pink ones, which are the larger, or the smaller flower. And then I have one more here. The other good thing about these watercolors, if you're new to this channel, is that they have a little sheen in them. So once the watercolors dry, and if you look at them, especially in evening light, like as in artificial light, you will see a little sheen come through. And that, if you're creating a little festive wreath on a card like this, or you creating illustration in your art journal, whatever you're doing, you will see a little sheen come through, and that just looks really, really pretty. So these orange ones, they go right here, and if the color bleeds a little bit into the other or the next door flower, that's absolutely fine. This is watercolor after all, so it's meant to travel and create some prettiness. They can go quite opaque, but they can be also beautifully translucent and transparent depending on how you use the water ratio, and you still will get a nice color payoff. And then finally the last flower right here. So as you can see, this color combination really is not a traditional one, and it looks really, really pretty in my opinion. I think I'm going to mix in, yes, some of that red with the pink actually. Just make the pink a bit darker. Let's see what happens. So we got this nice color. So yeah, that looks pretty. Just in a couple of places. I don't want it too much. Now, even though mistletoe is green, the berries are white, but the leaves are green, you can do your own thing. That's the fun. That's the fun aspect of any type of art, where you can just be creative and create your own vision, your own colors, even though they're not like this in nature. The more fun you have with it, the cuter it looks, I find. So don't color in the whole thing because you have detail that you just lined out, but a little bit of paint. So I'm just going to bring it up closer just to show you. So here it is, a beautiful wreath. You can do something like that throughout the year with different flower combinations, and in the summer it would be pretty just with, like, you know, summery flowers. And you can also change the sizes. You can obviously make bigger ones. If you're going for a bigger illustration, you can make even smaller and cuter ones. So it really is up to you, but basically just think about how you're building it and the colors that you want to use, and that's it. So thanks for watching. I hope you're going to give it a go, and see you soon.